All right, you're on the arms room of Glen.
And John.
It is a Labor Day, and we are laboring.
I've been here since 6:30 this morning, bro.
I know, man. I love when people talk about getting holidays off.
What is this?
What is that?
What are you speaking of? What are these days off?
Holidays, no working. Yeah, right. Every holiday.
Every day, bro.
Though I will say, sometimes, of course, being self-employed, sometimes we take holidays when it's not a holiday.
Whenever the hell we want.
So we pretty much do what we want.
That's the great idea of being your own boss is you can take all the time off you want whenever you want to take it off.
I love when I hear people say that.
But you have to remember, those are the days you're not making money.
Yeah. People are like, well, at least you're not beholden to some boss. Like, yeah, I'm beholden to all my clients.
Yeah, everyone.
Yeah,
everyone that buys gear from Redwire, that's who I am beholden to.
Every student, every big
and the people you have to support.
And my children and my wife and my fellow instructors and all that.
I don't have the children and wife problem because I got that sugar mama.
Yeah.
Shout out to the boss lady.
All right, today we're in the official Wilderness Tactical studio.
Yeah.
Woo. Don't forget about our gear giveaway.
I know.
We're going to be sending some gear out very shortly. Some guys out in Pennsylvania. Yeah. Nice. Pretty excited about that. So if you are a law enforcement agency, military organization, or youth shooting organization, and you are in need of gear, and this isn't just an opportunity to get free stuff, but you actually can't afford the gear, or you're trying to get gear and your upper brass or upper echelon won't freaking...
The echelons above reality?
Yes, your echelon above reality won't support you. Then let us know, and we can probably provide you with some stuff. We have requirements. You got to take photos of it actually in use in the field. You got to be able to give us a kind of a more official request. But contact us and we can work something out. No matter what, we'll get you what you need. Our email is info@trainingaz.com. We'll make sure you get at least something, at least some cool piece of equipment to try out and use, put to good work. Show today brought to you by HexMag.
Yep. Go buy some Hex Mags.
Go buy some Hex Mags. In fact, right here, bazam, I've got my new favorite mag carrier.
Yeah.
So I used, and I posted this up on the Independence Training Instagram page. So if you go up there, you can see it. But there's a Wilderness Tactical AR mag pouch, and then my pistol. And I've got this here in the studio. For anyone watching on video, you can see it. Here's what I really like about these things. They're easy on, easy off.
Extremely.
Very. You just grab, slide it on your belt, Velcro it back in place, and you're in business. And you can run and move and shake and shimmy and do all the stuff that you normally do, and it's not going to come off. They're 100% retention on your mag. There's actually this cool little mold thing that goes inside the nylon. So when you pull the mag
wilderness
out,
magic. Yeah.
So initially when you get it, things like super tight, and then it molds to your magazine as you leave it in there.
Yep.
It's awesome. Do you want to see that again, John? So it starts closed like this.
Yeah.
And like then you tease a little.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, you have to. You kind of have to
stop.
Yeah, there you go.
Stop. I'm losing it.
All right.
All right. So
that ran off the tracks quickly.
And of course,
good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
I've got here in my hand one of the new Series 2 Hex Mags. I like Hex Mags.
I do too.
One of the things I like most about Hex Mags, and it's one of the things that they said in their interview with us a few weeks ago, is look,
they're pretty.
Well, yeah, that's it. They're about aesthetics, man.
Yeah.
And all those little hexes do add extra grip, and they've got plenty of stipples on there and everything to add extra grip, and that's all great, and that's what I look for in a magazine. But they're also, you can add your own designs, you can paint them, you can color them, you can add their little hex tape, you can add different colors of hex tape, make little designs, you can put your name in there, you can fill in different colors. Like this one, I just used a big old white pen and kind of made it a little
I see that.
I'm not very patient.
No,
but I just colored one bottom of it very white so that I know, hey, that's mine when I'm out on the range. And that's one of the magazines that I'm testing, so I wanted to market very clearly. But I like that. I like that they just, hey, look, we're competitive because we're aesthetic.
We're pretty.
We've got the different colors of the base plates and all that kind of stuff.
Sounds good.
Check Hex Mags out.
Yeah, words hard.
Words are difficult. All right. I had a great dove season this weekend. Dove season opened up in Arizona and took out my oldest boy. Yeah. Everybody, of course, posting photos of their dove season. A lot of great dove season, man. Most people I know did very well. Out there. I had a great time with my oldest son. We killed plenty of doves. Had a great time. Went out. Let's see, what did we go out? Friday. Went out again this morning. Killed some more. It's so much fun being out there. You're hiking around. You're spending a great time in the outdoors. Of course, hanging out with my oldest son is always a good time. And and I get to kill some stuff. I like starting a day with some other creature's blood on my hands. It's a good way to start the day.
Yeah. Did you drink it, Glenn, when you were out there?
No, they don't have enough really to get a good swallow. Okay. That's more like
it's not even a good
rabbits or something. Yeah, barely even that. So, but it's a blast. If you've never tried hunting, go out and give it a shot, man. Find someone to kind of mentor you, or go through a hunter's ed class or something. Get started. It really is a good time. Even when you don't get anything, like, look, I'm a competitive guy. I'm always, in the end, a day I spend in the outdoors, even if I don't get something, is better than a day I've ever spent at the office.
Yes. I pretty much am growing to despise this office thing.
Especially when I've got kids out there with me. So if you got kids, make sure you take them to the outdoors as well. That's important.
Yes.
Had the first 2-gun action match, or what we're now calling Desert 2-gun, or Arizona 2-gun. I don't remember what.
I think it's Desert. I'm pretty sure it's Desert 2-gun.
I thought it was dessert.
Dessert? No, that's 2 S's.
Oh,
you only want 1 serving of the desert, 2 servings of dessert. That's how I remembered how to spell that.
Wow, John,
I like that. I'm gonna use that.
You might have just taught some people some serious stuff
buddy.
This morning, man.
I'm kind of a dumb. I have to find interesting ways. It's Desert 2-gun action match.
It's not. I thought we were initially going to call it Desert. Now I got to find it. Hold on.
Oh, good God.
Oh, heaven forbid.
You posted a picture on the Instagram.
Arizona 2-gun. That's what we're calling it.
Okay, so Arizona 2-gun.
Arizona 2-gun. All right, so the first Arizona 2-gun match that was kind of our test match held out at Cowtown Range this past Saturday morning. So much fun.
It was a good time.
Oh, man. I had such a good time running it. And what's fun is I showed up not intending to run the match.
Right.
I showed up intending to be an RO because we were going to have 4 stages, so 4 squads. You were an RO, a couple of our other friends. I was going to be an RO, and then
we missed you, Mason.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, sorry.
Really just a good time.
I did a nerd thing. So.
And so then they were like, "Oh well," the guys that run the match were like, "Hey, well, we're just going to do 3 squads instead of 4. So why don't you just run one of the squads and not RO?" I'm like, "Oh, okay. I have
twist my arm. I don't.
No, I'm like, I have some.
There were still 4 squads. There were 4 squads.
Nope, we still just did 3. We just ran 3. Guarantee it. We just ran.
That's right. 3 squads, 4 stages.
There's only one way to solve this. You guys have to fight and let God sort it out.
And so
I'm gonna lose.
And so I was like, all right, cool, I'll shoot it. What's some cool divisions? Like, didn't you read the rules? And I'm like, I never read the rules for these things. But
I just show up and do what I do.
So he's like, there's an armored division. I'm like, oh, I'll do that. So I grabbed, my little mini carrier from Air 500 Armor and threw that thing on. And I love training with my kid on. It's a good time. And ran around shooting the old pistol and rifle, and got worked on the pistol stage. Holy crap. Oh man, I did not do well. But
did a lot of people actually do well?
Nobody did well on that pistol stage.
That was
honestly, nobody did well on that. It was a really nasty stage.
Yeah, it was.
I did really well on the rifle stage, so I was really happy. Rocked first time I'd really rocked the new Vortex Razor HD on one of my rifles. Damn it, I love those freaking optics.
Yeah,
man, I love Vortex optics, and that Razor HD is such a kick-ass piece of equipment. I got the 1-6. Man, I love that thing. It's great. Rocking the old Vortex hat today, even.
You've got like several of those hats.
No, I just got one.
I thought you had another Vortex hat.
Oh, just one.
He just paints it different colors to confuse you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So, anyways, had a great time. If you, again, we talked about competition before on the show. If you haven't tried competition, you got to get out there and try it.
Just try it.
Just try it.
I don't.
There's plenty of people who showed up and sucked.
I don't particularly enjoy it. I don't have that same deep down competitive drive in every aspect of my life that other people do. I don't particularly enjoy shooting competitions. I try to do a couple a year, just a couple of the more fun things, because sometimes it's okay and it's fun for me to do. But I'm not a every weekend, every week kind of competitor. I just don't. I don't know. I don't get the same satisfaction from it that other people do. But if you haven't tried it, go out and try it. You may find that you really enjoy it.
But it's not just about the competitive aspect of it for me. For me, it's also about, like, I went out there, I'm just having a good time. Like, there was a couple of targets, like I think on your stage, because you were ROing, I just hammered down on that last target. You know what I mean?
For like no apparent reason.
I just put like 15 rounds.
I wish I could afford as much ammo as I can.
Look, man, I've acquired a lot of ammo over the years, and I like to have fun shooting. You can show up and just ding, 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 ding. Just 2 shots on each target was all there's required.
Or you could shoot like
and I had a great
entire
time.
mag on 3 freaking targets.
Yeah. So I jumped over to that last one and I'm just like, oh man, it was fun. I just walk away with a smile on my face, having a good time. You know,
I don't get that same level of from it as you do.
It's just fun, and it helps me to like figure out what I need to work on.
Right.
You know, there's definitely some things I walked away from this. Hey, I need to work on that. Next time I go out and practice, there's a weakness I have in shooting, you know, that I need to kind of work on.
Right.
It was a blast. Really had a good time. We are going to do our next one November and December. So if you're interested in 2-gun action match and you're in Arizona, shoot us an email. I'll send you the info@trainingaz.com. The match is $20, and you're pretty much guaranteed to have a good time. Great group of shooters out there, really no dicks. And people show up with, like one guy, one of our friends, Brad, shows up with his A2, 20-inch
buddy.
A2.
Freaking musket.
Love it, man. There's guys out there in the heavy.
Awesome.
There was a guy out there running a 308 Springfield.
Yeah, buddy.
So, yeah, just bring whatever you got, man.
Yeah, bud.
Oh, dang.
Just shoot it.
Just
go do it.
It was.
If you haven't done it yet, just go do it.
Yeah, good stuff. Really good
scared.
stuff.
Are you gonna do any news?
I'll get to that in just a second because I want one more thing I want to talk about, and then we'll jump on that news thing. Class is coming up. I want to talk about our class. We don't always talk about what independence training does in classes on the show, but I want to talk about it real quick. This coming weekend, we have close contact handgun with Cecil Birch from Immediate Action Combatives. He's been on our show in the past. He's actually coming back to our show next week to talk about the needs of failure and training.
Nice.
But this coming weekend, it's going to be a blast. If you've completed a defensive handgun or similar level class, man, this is a class to jump on because this is going to take you kind of that next level. We're actually going to start incorporating scenario-based training, force-on-force simunitions, the whole thing. We'll actually be using UTMs. I think we only have like 3 slots or 4 slots left in the class, so it's a good opportunity to jump in on this one. We got wilderness first aid coming up here in Arizona, September 17th and 18th. We got practical shotgun coming up on the 24th, also in Arizona. And then we got a whole bunch of great classes in October, canine first aid, precision rifle. We got the Coyote Clinic coming up in November. We got a lot of cool stuff going on.
Wow.
Yeah. So make sure you check out Independence Training. Trainingaz.com is the easiest way to find us. Again, you can shoot us an email at the email address we've already given, info@trainingaz.com, and kind of check out what we got going on. We've got a lot of cool stuff coming up. You know, this is kind of our big season. As the weather cools off a little bit, more and more people get into training. Kids are back in school. People's lives kind of start to normalize. People want to start training. Here's the opportunity to do it. We got some good classes. We got our handgun and carbine stuff coming up later in the year, I think in late November, December. So make sure you get on it. All right, John.
What's up, bud?
Red Wire Gear moment.
All right. So don't overthink your weapons maintenance. You know, we discussed this quite a bit on the range. And by quite a bit, I mean, it generally takes us less than 5 minutes to discuss this and cover this, but don't overthink weapons maintenance. It's not complicated. You don't have to make everything shiny every time. Keep your weapons lubricated. Your carry guns, take them out, clean them off once a week, get the dust out of them, re-lube them. Because, I mean, you know, that's something that you're going to possibly stake your life on. So make sure that one's well maintained. As far as your range guns and stuff, look, man, I sit down about every 6 months, depending on how much I shoot. And generally, it's about every 6 months I reach a couple of thousand rounds through one of my guns. I sit down and I give it a good old-fashioned Marine Corps style cleaning, and that's it. Other than that, it's a bore snake and some Slib 2000 and a freaking toothbrush. So don't overthink your maintenance. It's not complicated. It's really easy.
Awesome. Red Wire Gear moment brought to you by redwiregear.com. Make sure you check them out. You still got your sale going on, John?
No, free shipping actually ended. Actually, you know what? Yeah, I'll extend it. I'll extend it till midnight tonight. I'll get it taken care of after the show.
What's the coupon code?
It's free ship.
Free ship.
Free ship.
As a coupon, free shipping?
Yep.
Cool. All right, make sure you check them out. All kinds of goodies over there. You know, I say that like I was actually out at the range the other day shooting with my wonderful wife, and I realized how much Red Wire Gear things I have. We're like both running ARs.
You're like a test dummy.
Red Wire Gear slings. I've got my Red Wire Gear pouch on for my Mark 82. I've got my Red Wire Gear wallet in my pocket. We both have our ear pro on, Red Wire Gear wraps. I
got to get those up on the website.
Out this morning, I'm running my shotgun. I got my one-off custom Red Wire Gear shell holder on the side of my shotgun. It's plenty of Red Wire Gear stuff in my life.
We've all got a bunch of stuff. I got custom plate pockets. And
you did.
I have all kinds of like mods where I've told John, hey John, this plate carrier would be perfect if only
this.
And then John will do it for me because he's a sweetheart. Still waiting for that visor cover though. Still waiting on that thing.
Well, as long as I owe it to you, I won't ever short you out of it.
2 years later. All right. So today we're going to be talking about. Oh, I'm sorry, Mason. Is there any cool news?
I just had like one serious thing and one funny thing, but it was also kind of serious, and you're gonna love it because it's about that Pokemon Go game.
Go Goose.
Oh, goody.
So for the people that are still complaining about how America sucks so bad, I want you to know that in Russia, a kid got arrested for playing Pokemon Go in church.
Oh,
and he is in prison awaiting sentencing because he was playing Pokemon Go in church.
That teach you to mess around.
So
Good for them.
You sit back and complain about this Pokemon Go or complain about how America sucks and all that stuff. In other countries, you would get arrested for playing video games in the wrong place. All right. You don't get arrested here for playing video games in the wrong place. Unless you jump over the fence of the White House.
Or you're
trying to catch Pokemons or
driving
whatever.
your car.
Right. And then the other news is another suicide attack in Kabul. I don't know. I'm kind of biased. I say the Kabul stuff all the time because I was there. But it's just really shitty to see like places that I was getting like torn apart.
Yeah.
You know? But it didn't kill any U.S. people, fortunately. But it was blown up at the Afghan Ministry of Defense. And like, I don't know, 24 people were killed. It says something like that. 91 others were injured at the Defense Ministry. I've been to the Defense Ministry in Afghanistan, you know, so it's just weird to see all this stuff. And all of it's happening in Kabul right now. Also in Helmand, the capital of Helmand is under threat of being taken over by the Taliban right now, too.
Helmand is a shithole.
So we stopped combat operations, and look what happens. It's not even been a full year, and they're already taking back parts of the country.
Not shocking.
Well,
yep. Yeah,
this
buddy.
is my surprise face.
So I actually want to say something about Mason, because everybody out there, if you don't know yet, Mason is an MP in the Army.
Why would you tell people that?
Right.
Now I'm never going to get a girlfriend from the arms room.
and we give him...
Were you staking your life?
That's why I'm here.
We give him nonstop crap about it, right? And everybody gives him crap about it. In fact, the first time I met Mason, we sat down for lunch. We had a long phone conversation where I told him, you know, this isn't ever. You don't want to get involved with us.
You don't want to be involved.
Yeah, like I do with everybody, whoever asks.
Stop playing with your flip flop. That's great.
So he comes through and we go to lunch and we sit down and I said, so what do you do in the reserves? And he said, I'm an MP, but not that kind of MP. Like the first words out of his mouth, right? Because he knows I'm going to give him shit for it right off the bat. And first, like as soon as he said my head, look at him through one eye.
Oh, really?
You know,
that middle finger started to come up.
Yeah.
I was like, no, wait,
please.
Up
to leave. But anyways, I was by Mason last Christmas. And, you know, Mason always talks about being like a combat support MP, and we always give him crap about it. So I was given a book by Mason for Christmas called Warrior Police.
Ooh, sounds
And it was
fancy.
written by former Special Forces guy and this other kind of embedded journalist type. And I kind of chuckled at it. Okay, it's a neat gift. Thanks, Mason. I'll read it one day. And I started reading it a few months ago, and it kind of, I got busy, and I kind of stopped reading for a while. And then I really started reading it recently, and I'm just about done with it. And I got to say, all right, I have a new respect for the MPs. I really do.
That's fantastic.
It's really interesting to read about some of the things that they were actually involved in.
Oh, yeah. Some crazy crap, man. Like, you know what I mean? When I was deployed, most of the time, my security was MPs. And if it wasn't MPs, it was not infantry, combat engineers. Yeah. Which I basically
despise.
Yeah, I basically despise combat engineers. But
today's show brought to you by the Army Corps of Engineers.
Yeah, buddy.
So I do have a newfound respect for Mason and his job and what he does.
Yeah.
Because it's interesting to read more. You know, we all read about SEALs and Rangers and Special Forces guys and 173rd Airborne, 101st.
And
we read about
they are badass. They are the tip
badass
of the spear, but they are not the majority of the military.
Yeah.
I mean, they couldn't be by necessity. You couldn't have everybody be Special Forces. Right. I love those guys and they're awesome, but I mean, there are other people that do other stuff too.
So it's an interesting book. You know, if you're looking for, I'm not big on war books. I read a few. To me, they're all kind of the same. They all basically outline the same concepts. But there's a few that I'll read, you know, just for interest. And most of them I don't get through. Like I admittedly didn't read all of the Chris Kyle American Sniper book. I didn't read all the Lone Survivor book. I read most of it.
Those were both very difficult books to read for a lot of reasons.
For a lot of reasons that I don't want to get into on the air. But I like to read books I really enjoyed Robert's Ridge. That's a book that I really liked. About the Chinook that got shot down, because that's you know, and how they defended it and things that are a little bit more atypical are interesting to me. And so this book has been kind of interesting to me just because it's very atypical, and it talks about a lot of different soldiers. one guy. It's not just one person's story. There's females in there. It outlines the whole battle in which the first female received the Silver Star, which was cool. It's a cool story to read. I mean, she kicked some ass, dude. There's no bones about it. She is shooting and maneuvering with this other guy, and they basically took out enemy emplacement on their own that had just basically smoked 3 MPs in this giant, nasty firefight. And it was pretty cool. I mean, it's cool to read that kind of stuff where things are kind of, different. Now, it talked a lot about the whole prison issues and the and all that. And it was interesting to read it from the MP's perspective, as opposed to the rest of us who were just like, oh, MP screwed something else up.
Well, that's because MPs are like regular cops. They generally show up when we're having fun and they stop it.
Yeah. That's why we all hate them.
Well, they hate us.
Why do all soldiers hate MPs? Because they shut the fun down.
People hate us because we take all their stuff that they were having fun with, and then we in turn have fun with it.
You go have fun
ourselves
privately, you jerk.
So I had kind of a silly encounter the other day with somebody at a new work thing that I started, and I was just like, oh boy. I was going to tell you about it later, but I'll just tell you about it now real quick. So I'm sitting in the break room at this new job, and I'm just minding my own business, watching something on YouTube and eating like ramen. Because I'm unhealthy. And then this guy's sitting there, I have my water bottle that has my like Afghan campaign ribbon or whatever sticker on. It doesn't say like Afghan veteran, but just got the ribbon on it. Sure. And this guy just looks over at me and he's like, you prior service? And I'm like, yeah. And I don't expand on that. I'm just like, yes. And he's like, okay. And then we sit there quietly for another little bit. And then he's like, what was your job? And I'm like, well, unfortunately, man, I was an MP. And he's like, oh, you were an MP?
Unfortunately, it's how you sell
I say that because you don't want to be a douche. If I'm like, I'm an MP and I'm better than you, which I know some guys that are like that. And
why don't you just say I was an MP?
And I do that, though. I'm like, I'm an EOD tech and I'm better than you.
Because you are.
Just ask me. I'll gladly tell you again.
But I just thought it was funny because like right after I said that, the guy's like, oh, well, you're really lucky we're not in because I was infantry and we'd have to fight. And I was like, really?
What an
really, dude? Like,
that guy's an idiot.
What the? Yeah, like, seriously?
Whatever.
And I was like, dude, that he's like, I didn't say a whole bunch, but I'm like, look, dude, I'm a squad leader. And in my squad, I'm the only MP in an NCO slot. My other 3 NCOs are all infantry, artillery, and a medic. And guess what? We all get along and we all have respect for each other. And my infantry guy and I are like real close. And I've only known the guy for like 6 months. Aww. And he doesn't care that I'm an MP. And infantry guy that like slayed bodies and shit like that, And then the other guy's just like, yeah, well, you're lucky we're not in because we'd have to fight. I'm like, really? Why? Like, I don't care if you were a sanitation specialist in the Army. That's important.
Everyone's got a job,
Everyone's got to poop, and we got to make sure it's clean so we don't get sick. All right. Yep. And we need clean drinking water. So if you were a water purification specialist, it doesn't matter. We all do a job together.
So
rant over. That was my
rant. Especially if you served and you kind of have that preconceived notion that we all had of MPs, I would actually recommend this book because it takes you all the way from pre 9/11. All the way through. I mean, I think I'm toward the end of the book, and they're basically toward like the late 2000s.
Well, the curious part about the book too is like of all of the stories that are in that book, how many of them were about MPs breaking up fights?
0
at bars.
Yeah, it's all about dudes doing some nasty stuff and doing the prison work and the guard stuff and all that, but also doing a lot of combat support. So yeah, the first time Mason told me he was combat support MP, I kind of laughed. But honestly, if you served and you're looking for a book to read and you want something that's relatively interesting and has some really good history about both Iraq and Afghanistan campaigns and kind of some of the stuff that happened that, like one part that kind of pissed me off was, and this will be the last thing I'll say about the book, but one part that kind of pissed me off was they're talking about as they're rolling, there was a big push into Baghdad initially in Iraq. Mm-hmm. And they're talking about these MP units pushing past all these villages and everything. I remember one of my Marine buddies who was a force recon guy, old school, like 2003. And he was talking about pushing through these villages. They're basically just blow and go. I mean, they just jam through these places and like shoot the hell out of everything and then keep on rolling because everyone's trying to get to Baghdad first. And we're talking about these MP units that, their job, of course, is like move in, secure, build infrastructure, like the whole thing, and how they would just blow through these towns and they would literally sit on the edges of towns and watch as the whole place just crumbled, because there was the law and order that was there, while crappy, is now gone. Mm-hmm. Right? There's no law and order. So people are like looting, they're raping, killing, robbing, all that kind of stuff, like horrible stuff. And the MPs couldn't do anything, right? Because they were held back by, the ROE. And, they watched all this stuff kind of happen. They watched these areas just get worse and worse. And what was even more worse is there's a story in there about how they were sitting outside this bunker facility. It was like 100-something bunkers just full of weapons. I mean, RPGs and and guns,
AKs, RPKs,
all kinds of stuff. And you know where I'm going with this. And the other things that we could never find, the WMDs and stuff like that, right? That
shoot me an email. I'll tell you guys some stories about that.
Yeah, John's got some interesting information about that kind of stuff. But it's like all these things that we quote unquote could never find, and literally the MPs just sat by because they couldn't engage and watched all these Iraqis day after day just loot these bunkers. And then all that stuff was later used to kill our brothers and sisters. And that kind of stuff is the stuff that pisses me off when you get the brass kind of with this singular
echelons above reality.
Yeah, I like that saying. I never heard that before.
They kind of get this singular, we got to go, we got to go, we got to go. And in the meantime, they just left this chaos behind them.
Yeah.
And part of those areas that became so incredibly violent for our guys like Ramadi and Tikrit and areas like that, where if we would have stayed just blowing through them, it might have not been so terrible. Fallujah is another good example. You know, we kicked some ass and then we pulled out so we could have a presidential election here in the States. And then when we found out Bush got reelected, boom, we jumped back in there too late. Yep. They'd already reinforced. They had already established their supply routes and all the logisticals. And it was freaking... It's interesting. It's an interesting history lesson. So the book, again, is Warrior Police. Read it. It's interesting. All right. We spent enough time not on the topics. Let's get to the topic today.
Oh, God. Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah. All right. Our topic today is buying guns as an investment and how to build kind of a well-rounded collection. I've mentioned on the show several times, and so has John and even Mason, that, we buy guns and we never really lose money on them. I mean, for the most part, like we buy ammo, we buy mags, we buy stuff, and we never really lose money. And I have gotten over the months a series of emails from various different people saying, how the heck do you do that? Well, here's a couple of things. All right. First of all, if you buy a gun at a gun store, you're not going to make any money on it.
No.
All right. They're there to sell you a gun at markup. And understand that most gun stores, guns don't have a lot of margin in them.
No.
All right. I spent a lot of time in this industry. I spent a lot of time with FFLs. I spent a lot of time helping, people develop their gun stores and things like that, and working from the backside on things. And I can tell you this, for the most part, I mean, guns are sold at 10 to 15% margin.
Yeah.
Which is not a lot.
Nope.
Not a lot at all. And so there's typically not a lot of markup in guns.
Oh, you consider the average minimum for most other products is about 30%.
On average. Yeah. And so, when you walk into a gun store, you're going to have the most wiggle room on used guns.
Oh, yeah.
Because a gun store has always paid, or a gun dealer has always paid bottom dollar for used guns, is now selling them, at a markup. So, for example, one thing shows we were talking about, it was like law enforcement trade-ins, right?
Oh, yeah.
LE trade-in guns. There's always volume discounts. There's always trade-in discounts. There's always to get a better deal. And then you can look at things like J&G Sales in Prescott, Arizona. They've got LE trade-in Glock 22s. And these are guns that are perfectly serviceable. You can pick them up for, like, depending on the sale, between $300 and $350. Now you got a 40 cal. The agencies are transitioning away from 40 caliber for a number of reasons, that 40 cals are now available on the market, right? And when you look at a lot of them, when you look at ammo during the panics market, so you can take a 40 cal G22 and you can get a 9mm conversion from a company like Lone Wolf or somebody like that, and now you have both a 9 caliber gun. Right? So there's a way to buy a gun that when things go wrong, you can sell that at an upsell price. You can sell either that thing as a G22, or you can sell it as, hey, it's a 40 cal 9mm kind of thing. Other ways to buy guns as an investment is cruising Backpage and just being heavily involved with the industry. Now, we kind of have an advantage because we're heavily involved in the industry. But talk to people at gun shops. Talk to people at ranges. I've bought a lot of used guns at Smoking Good Deals because I'll be in a gun store, and I don't go into a lot of gun stores because I get real aggravated in them because people in there are so damn stupid. But I'll go in there and I'll hear a guy go in and he'll be like, hey, man, I need to sell this gun for whatever reason. Maybe he doesn't want it, he needs some money, whatever. Yeah. And gun shops are like freaking predators in that situation.
I'll give you a nickel.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, yeah, we'll give you $200 for that, G19. And the guy's like, oh, God, I really need, I was really hoping to make $300 or whatever. And they're like, well, we'll give you $200 or we'll give you, $275 in trade. And the guy's looking like, anytime. I mean, I sneak in close to that guy. And I'm like, hey, dude, why don't you talk to me outside or something like that? And then he rolls outside. I'm like, hey, man, I'll give you the $300 you want. Oh, sweet. Awesome. All right, cool, dude.
sell it for $400 that afternoon.
I can't even tell you how many guns I have flipped buying them from guys outside gun shops. Or if the guy's like, no, man, I can't do it that cheap. I haul ass outside, stand by the door when the guy steps outside and say, you want to make a cash deal for that?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, well, what will you give me? What do you want? Tell me what you want.
And then we'll start.
$350. I tell you what, dude, I got $300 I can give you. Those guys are only going to give you 2 bills. I'll give you 3. Save the hassle I have to go to any other shops. No shop in the area is going to give you a better deal. You know, and the dude's, all right, cool. Bank, come back, meet him someplace, not at the bank, right? Don't do gun transactions in bank parking lots.
What?
But,
in the bank lobby?
And I'll understand, of course, I'm talking. We can do private party transactions face-to-face. Make sure that you follow, if you're going to do these private party transactions, that you very specifically understand your own state's rules and regulations for private party transactions and follow them very, very specifically into the letter. All right?
Or better yet, move to Arizona.
Or move to Arizona, because if you're listening to our show, we probably want you here. Unless you're just listening to our show to heckle us, in which case. All right.
We don't have a lot of hecklers.
We don't.
Bring it on.
Yeah, we don't really get a lot of hecklers every now and then, but
I think we heckle ourselves more than other people.
Probably. So, you know, there's a good place to scoop up good guns. You know, search in online ads, big giant forums like AR15.com or M4carbine.net, or, you know, your local thing for us in Arizona is AZ Shooting. Places like that are not typically good places to find smoking deals on guns, because they know that they're going to appeal to thousands of people. And usually if they're on that forum, they too are typically a gun guy. And so they know what their stuff is worth, you know. But knowing people, like, I will randomly ask, here's some other ways I've scored sweet deals on guns. I'll go hunting with someone and I'll just ask them, hey man, you looking to sell any guns lately? Dude, how many times I've had a buddy or someone I'm hunting with be like, yeah, man, you know, I don't need this gun anymore. I'm kind of hard up for money or whatever. I mean, I bought once a Ruger Vaquero, brand new, 44 for $200. I sold it, I think, for like $600.
Was that mine?
What?
Was that mine?
No, I bought this from a hunting buddy. I was out hunting. He pulls out this thing, was like, hey man, you ever shot one of these things? And I was like, yeah, they're a bitch to hold on to, because they have this, you know, it had like the smooth
cowboy action.
Yeah, and it's like single action, like super smooth.
They are sweet pistols.
They're super cool, but I mean, they are, yeah, you better hold on to that thing. And he's like, yeah, I got it. I don't really need it. I'm trying to sell, you know anybody? I'm like, what do you want for it? And he's like, I don't know. I just want to get rid of it. $200. Done.
Sold.
You know, and I'm pretty sure that when I flipped it for either $500 or $600. And sometimes you have to kind of move around with stuff. Like I bought a 1911 one time from a guy. It was a really nice Springfield 1911. It was one of the GI Springfields, and it was like maybe worth like $500 and $400 to $500. And so I put it up on one of the local forums, see if I could get any hits online. And the dude said, hey, dude, I'll sell you an aim point. Well, here's the way to look at this as an investment, or I'll trade you an aim point. What's easier to get rid of? A 1911 Springfield GI or an aim point?
An aim point.
An aim point's going to be easier to sell.
Those suckers all day.
So I'm like, heck yeah, let's make the trade, man. I met him down at the Sportsman's Warehouse parking lot. We made the trade. All was good. And I sold the aim point for whatever it was, $400 or $450 or whatever, you know, a nice comp M2, had the kill flash stuff and, you know, the arms mount and all that kind of stuff. And it was way easier to sell that because there's a much bigger market for that kind of stuff. So as we're talking about these private party transactions, I want to give my 5 rules. I have 5 rules, very simple, so I can count them off on the fingers of my hand. These are my 5 rules for private party transactions.
Let me get my notepad.
Get your notepad out.
Yeah, write this down.
Rule number 1, I only do business with people who have CCW permits or concealed carry permits.
Oh.
Now, the reason for that is it tells me that they've had a background check, they're a legal Arizona resident, or at least they have some kind of proof. Because you technically,
they're not a third
in Arizona, you technically don't have to be a resident to get a permit.
Right.
And so I need to check in Arizona to make sure that they are a resident. But as long as they're a resident and they have a permit, I know that there's everything that's legal about them. And I have no problem with that. So that's rule number 1.
Yep.
Rule number 2, I only do business with people in places that are well lit in the middle of the day.
And that you would expect to see guns.
Yeah. So rule number, where I expect to see guns. Because the whole idea behind rule number 2 is I don't want to do business with someone in a place that's convenient for them to rip me off, or in a place that's convenient for people to freak out because I pull out guns, like parking lots of banks or next to schools or stupid stuff like that. And
or behind a Sportsman's Warehouse.
Yeah, in Mesa, where you get robbed like an idiot. So, one of our local guys did that, and it's like no shocker, right? I based all my rules off of real news stories that I heard, by the way. I didn't just like, hey, this is a good idea. I heard about people getting ripped off for these things. Rule number 3, I only do business with people in places where someone can hear me scream, right? So in other words, I only do business in a place where there's going to be people, where guns are expected to be seen. Obviously not in crowded area, but a place like a Cabela's parking lot, not all the way to the back, not behind the building, not over there in that shady area, but in the middle of the day in broad daylight where there's going to be enough people around to kind of, discourage shenanigans.
That's weird because I always meet people in the middle of the desert, at least 10 miles away from civilization.
Yeah, but you do that for all kinds of reasons, Mason, not just to do gun deals.
Oh,
yeah, different.
Yeah, we're talking about different kind of deals.
We're not talking about sames here.
same.
So rule number 4 is I only do the movie Ronin.
Yeah,
one of my favorite movies, Robert De Niro. And there's a great scene where they're going underneath this bridge at night in a dark area to do this gun deal, which he knows, the main character, Robert De Niro, just knows is going to go bad because he's violating all these rules that he has, which are like my rules, right? Like,
so you're saying you base these rules off of a movie?
No, but Sean Bean, who's one of the characters in the movie, says something that is rule number 4. Just because we're here to buy guns doesn't mean we didn't bring any.
Yes.
All right. So if you don't normally go armed, this is a good time, because I understand not everyone out there carries guns all the time like we do, but if you don't normally carry a gun, this is definitely a good time. And remember, the first rule of gunfight is bring a gun. The second rule of gunfight is bring all your friends with guns, right?
And have a bigger.
So make sure that, if you show up, I've taken my son, I've taken my wife, certainly not 2 people who are incredibly intimidating, but I can arm them if necessary.
Good with a gun.
And they're another person. They're another set of eyes. They're another set of ears. They're just help to discourage shenanigans, right? And then finally, rule number 5, if it feels like a bad deal, it's a bad deal, walk away.
Yep.
Now, that being said, I have done a lot of private party transactions, face-to-face with all kinds of people all over the state of Arizona. And never once have I ever met anyone other than just good people like us who are just looking to get a good deal on a gun, make a good deal on a gun, whatever.
Sweet.
I met some cool people doing it. So because I follow those rules. So if you're going to do private party transactions, be very careful. All right. That's all there is to it. There are people that are ripping people off. We read about it in the news. Someone goes to do a gun deal. It's always in some stupid location in the dark, alone. They didn't take a gun, etc.
Behind the Circle K.
Yeah.
Like
at 11
32nd Street
in Grand.
Indian School. Yeah. Like 35th Avenue in Grand.
Like, I'm not meeting you anywhere on Grand Avenue.
Pattern is full.
So there's things that look like that. Look for bulk deals.
Yeah.
I've bought, and sometimes it takes a little bit of an upfront investment, but I've bought bulk deals from guys. Again, you just kind of involve yourself.
Or you
in
get
the
a bunch of your buddies together.
Or you do that. But like I bought a good set from a guy one time who got accepted to a grad school over in the UK. And he was just a do a shooting event. And I let it be known at the shooting event that I like to buy guns. Right. Not like overtly, but just kind of
I buy guns.
I buy guns. I
buy guns cheap.
I had a sign around my neck. No, but like we were at this big shooting event, and as I was talking to people, I was just like, "Hey, if you guys, have anything out here that you're willing to part with, man, I'm always up for a good deal." I just say things like that to people. Like, oh yeah, I know I'm set, but I can't tell you how many people are like, well, I do have this SKS.
This one thing that's been hanging out in my safe.
Yeah, I do have this one gun I brought. I shot it today. I don't really like it, and I take a look at it. Sometimes yay, sometimes nay. But this particular guy hit me up a couple months after we'd met. Said, hey, I remember you. You said, and I've got a good deal for you. He said, I'm going. I have to leave next week. I don't have time to mess around with this. I got accepted in this badass grad school over in the UK. I'm not going to be back for like 3 years to the US. There's no point in me trying to hold on to my guns. I picked up like a basic 16-inch M4 or AR-15, set up like an M4A. Yeah, M4G. I picked up, it was like an XD 4-inch. It was like a gun case, a sling. It's like a half a dozen AR mags. It was a couple hundred rounds of 9, couple hundred rounds of
$7.
For $7. Picked it up for $1,000. You know, everything for $1,000 because he was just like, hey, dude, I just want to leave. What can you offer me? And I said, dude, I'll give you $1,000 in cash. And kind of hemmed and hawed. Look, man, that's the best I can do right now. And then you give yourself some wiggle room. You know, it's a standard negotiation tactic thing. Like, really, I was willing to probably spend, can't remember what I'd figured out, it was a long time ago, but it was probably around, $1,200 or $1,300 I was really willing to part with. And I remember I sold the pistol for like $400. And then I sold the rifle, I think, for like $700. And then I ended up with all that ammo and all those mags.
And made $100.
And I made $100, So, and I could have hung on to that stuff for a while,
but sold it a couple of years ago and made like $10,000.
Yeah, but I mean, like I picked up a Colt SP1. A guy wanted to sell. Again, just letting people know. I actually bought something off of eBay from a guy who ran a cellular store. And I went in to pick it up. It was like a cell phone case or something like that. And it turned out when I looked, I'm like, oh, dude, he's like right down the road from me. And so I called him and said, hey, dude, instead of shipping this, I just won one of your eBay auctions. Can I just come pick it up? That would save us both. And so I went down to pick it up, and we started chatting, and guns became a topic, and I said, yeah, man, if you do a lot of eBay stuff and selling, obviously, so you ever come across some guns you want to sell, let me know. Call me up a couple months later. He had come upon a little collection in a trade, wanted to sell some stuff. I picked up a Colt SP1 from him, full 20-inch old school Colt SP1 for like, I don't remember what it was. It was not a lot of money. It was like $700-800. The great panic of 08 hit. I sold that thing for $2,400.
So here's the key to buying guns cheap. Become friends with Glen Stilson. Hang out with Glen.
The idea is
with Glen. Timing has a lot to do with it.
It's a lot about timing, but it's just about making sure that people know.
Right. Yeah.
My dad is the king. I learned this one from my pops. He is the king of buying guns at freaking garage sales. Okay, let it be known, I freaking hate garage sales. All right, I don't like doing them. I don't like going to them. I just don't like them.
Dude, garage sales are great. You find so much cool random shit at garage sales. Like, it's awesome.
Some really neat stuff.
Growing up, my parents loved to go like garage selling on the
weekend.
Oh
yeah, so did my mom.
My dad is a tool whore. Okay, that man has more tools than any. And he's probably got like men need
8 of everything.
Yeah, he'll be like, go get me this out of the toolbox. You walk in like, what toolbox, Dad?
Which toolbox? Oh, it's the green one. Which green one?
I mean, literally growing up, we had 2 sheds full of tools.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, we had so many tools.
We
always had tools.
Did you ever not have the right tool?
We always had the right tool.
Then.
We always had the right tool. But so he loved to go to yard sales. My dad's a sucker for a good deal, and my mom's kind of an antique person, so they love, and they just liked going. And
is that a comment on your mother's age? Because that wasn't very nice.
My mom is not an antique. She just likes antique stuff.
Oh, okay, all right.
So they like. Although my dad did learn one time from an archaeologist when he was doing a big government project that you become historically significant, I think, at 50. At 50 years old, an item is historically significant. So my dad said, hey, at least I accomplished something in my life. But, so my pops loves to go to garage sales and look for guns. And he always asks at every yard sale. And this is the trick I learned from my dad. He walks up to, he browses. What's the word I'm looking for?
Peruses.
Perusing and browsing. I just combined 2 words.
Carousing.
He perouses. All right.
I like that.
He perouses. And he always asks the person, like, hey, do you have any guns for sale? You would be amazed.
Oh, yeah.
How many people say,
because people don't want to put their guns out.
Yeah, like some people go like, well, especially old ladies. Their husband just recently died, or he's in like a house, a home, or a retirement place or whatever. And they're like, yeah, well, I do have this one gun. And they bring it out. I mean, my dad picked up, what's he got right now? The shotgun he's using right now is like a Mossberg something with like this crazy adjustable Versachoke at the end. It's like an older Mossberg, but he picked it up for $100. In fact, I don't even know. In fact, I think it was $75.
What?
Yeah. It was under $100.
Yeah, I'm never that lucky.
I walked up to a guy at a yard sale one time. Like my wife, was a yard sale just down the road from the house we were living in at the time, and I want to go down there and take a look. And I was like, oh god, someone else's crap. And so we walked down there. I'm looking through all this other people's crap.
I'll give you a nickel for all those Tupperware lids.
Yeah, I'm walking up like, oh, whatever this and whatever that. And there's other guys standing there, and we're chit chatting. Oh yeah, I see your truck. Yeah, that's cool. Whatever. We're just making small talk. Blah 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 blah. People.
I like coffee.
Yeah,
I go to the store.
And I said, hey man, you got any guns or anything you want to sell? And he was like, I have a couple of 9mm pistols if you're interested. You know, he brings them out. They were kind of no name. Like one of them was like a Star B or something, older 9mm, and it brings it out. The other one, I remember what it was. I wasn't interested. It wasn't a high point, but it was pretty beat up and old. I'm like, I don't know, man. What do you want for that? And he's like, what do you give me? I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't even know what it's worth. $150. Yeah, I'll take that. Cool. Sold it like 3 days later. One of the dudes at my job site for like $300. You know, it's just like you just have to ask. You just let it be known without walking around going, I'm a gun guy. I'm a gun guy.
Just wear it. Just buy a shirt.
I buy guns.
I buy guns. That's it.
But look,
billboard on the back window of your truck.
Here's where you're rarely going to find
my favorite thing is the people that like go to gun shows.
You're not going to find
like, I'm going to get a cheap gun at a gun show. No, you're not, because all gun shows are is stores setting up booths and then a few people randomly setting up a booth, but they're at a place where they know people are looking for guns.
Catch a premium.
Yeah.
So they're going to charge you what they want to make for them. You got to go to places where you wouldn't typically think that someone would sell guns.
Like a flea market.
Oh yeah.
When my pops was still doing his main career, he did a lot of government contract work, and so he was on a lot of. He traveled a lot, and so he's around a very different, just different types of people all the time. He kind of let it be known, you know, kind of under the radar, that like he bought guns. I don't think there was ever a time in my life where my dad didn't come home with some type of different gun. I mean, as a kid, I shot guns from all types, you know, everything. And sometimes we'd keep some of them. My dad would go, sweet deal. We'd use it for deer hunting for a couple of seasons. He'd sell it. And we'd get something else. And it was really cool. You know, I really liked that as a kid, you know, and people just knew that my dad, if you had a gun to sell, you went and talked to my dad, you know, and he dealt with very big jobs where there were hundreds, if not thousands of people involved, and people just kind of knew, you know, and he just talked to people and he would find out. And he was always seemed like had some kind of cool something going on. You would get some cool pistol, he'd carry it for a year or two, and then he'd sell it and he'd get something else that was cool. And it just kind of went through different stuff. And we had our guns that we kept all the time, but then we always just kind of had these other guns that were just kind of filtering through, you know? And that's a big part of it, you know? So when people want to know, how do you buy guns as an investment? I never buy guns from gun stores as an investment. I never buy, in fact, I don't even go to gun shows. I literally cannot tell you the last time I was at a gun show. You know, I don't go to gun shows, certainly looking for good deals on guns or ammo or anything. Maybe every now and then you'll score something. And I know some people, oh man, I made such a good score at a gun show.
And I got a couple of buddies that have done
it's usually like a really rare thing. Like they were like, oh, I was looking for a bolt for my, you know, whatever, Nagask, right?
I know a dude that picked up an AK
rifle or something.
Yeah, what's that?
I knew a guy that picked up an AK for like $250, $300.
And sometimes you'll find smoking good deals.
Yeah.
But for the most part, by the time you pay the entry fee and you spend the time and all that, to me, it's not worth it. Where I make the best deals, guns as an investment. In other words, guns that I'm going to turn around and sell at some point once their value has increased or their value is already greater than the money I paid for it. I'm finding those for the most part in private party transactions.
Another good place to look that's not necessarily private parties, like pawn shops and stuff like that. Reputable-ish pawn shops.
Sometimes you can find good deals.
Because a lot of times they're not gun people in a pawn shop, you know, so they get this AR-15 and then they're like, oh, well, it's an AR-15, so $700 when it's like an Armalite or it's like some high-speed Knight's Armament AR-15 that somebody sold, you know. So my one of my buddies that found a Ruger SR556 brand new, like with the quad rail and everything, for like $800. I'm like, you could flip that thing and sell it for $1,000. You could sell it for $1,100, no problem.
So a lot of it kind of knowing what stuff is worth on the real market, because there's the real market and then there's the idea of, you know, kind of the what a gun is sold for, you know. But the private party market is not the same as what a gun is sold for.
No, God, no.
You know, what something is worth and what someone will give you for are two very different things. And people hold on to
it's the
stuff
same thing as car
it's worth
stuff.
more. Yeah,
it's the same thing as like buying a used quad, a used boat.
Yeah,
you know.
Oh, it's worth more. No, it's not. It's only worth
worth more to you
for it. Yeah,
it's worth more to you.
So knowing kind of what the market is also a good way to buy guns as an investment. You need to know, what does a Glock 19 sell for in a private party transaction? Because it ain't $500. It ain't $600. unless you got something special, you're probably not going to get that.
And even if you've got,
or you're in a certain location,
right? Or even if you have something special, that may not care because that may be special to you, not special to the person that's trying to buy it.
And I know, like, there's some states, for example, the SR9 from Ruger sells for, like, the last time I checked, between $700 and $800 in California.
Good Lord.
But it has to be the pre-ban version. So California requires you, every time you change the design of the gun, it has to be approved by the state of California, and it's very expensive to get that done. And so, I was actually touring the Ruger factory, I want to say it was a couple of years ago now.
Yeah.
And they were like, we're not even selling the gun in California anymore because we made a change. They want to, they want us to go through the whole approval process again. The cost to do it is ridiculous, so we're not going to sell the gun to California anymore. It's no longer available as a new product in our California market. I have a student from California who loves the SR9 and was telling me, he paid like $700 or something like that for his SR9. When over here in Arizona, literally across the border, they're $450. Now, obviously, I'm not saying you should buy them here in Arizona and traffic them over to California because
that's bad.
You're going to run afoul of some laws there, right?
Prison.
But the idea is that if I'm in California and I find a smoking good deal on an SR9 and I know that I could sell it for $750 or whatever, $700, $600, and I can buy it for $350, $400, $500, I know I can flip it quick and make a couple $100. So knowing what things are going for in your market is also an important thing. I remember during the ban, the craziness about the ban last time, there was all these people buying up PMags and then trying to sell them for, $50, $60 on like Backpage and Craigslist and places like that.
Yeah, I remember that.
And it had already passed.
Well, even then, like, I love seeing the people that bought them for that price, and then like 2 weeks later you could find them in bins at like Cabela's for like $10 a piece, and I was like, yes.
I mean, there was a gun store that we used to work with that was they didn't really know the market. They knew how to be a gun store, but they didn't actually understand the market, and they bought a whole bunch of really crappy mags, and I don't even remember what brand they were, but they were junk. I know what they were. They were the old crap. It's one of the old mags. Everybody hates them. They have like a big rib, multiple ribs around them.
Like the CII mags or something like that?
No, it's not the CAA mags. But before that, they were poly something. I don't remember what they're called now.
Pro mags, not the Pro Mag ones.
It was like the Pro Mag, but it was the one that was before that. Anyways, they had bought
old crappy plastic.
They had bought a ton of those things during the panic for like $20 because it's all they could find, and then put it in their store for like $40. Well, they were expensive when they bought them. Well, then the panic passed and they hadn't sold them all. So they left them on the shelf. And I bet if you walked in that store to this day, they probably still have them up there for $20. I wouldn't pay $5 a mag for those things. They're so terrible.
Yeah.
So, you have to understand, you have to understand the market that you're in. Every market's going to be different depending on where you're at.
Yep.
You have to look at sources outside of gun shows, outside of gun stores. And look, you may not be in a market where this works. Depending on what state you're in, depending on what your rules are for private party transactions, it might not work for you.
Yeah, if you live in like Berkeley, California, you're probably not going to be able to
do
guns
a lot of the stuff we're talking about.
Or own guns or look at guns.
Yeah, guns are bad. Okay.
Guns are bad. Okay.
Now, some of the things to really stay away from, guns that I would stay away from, are really one-off specialty items. Oftentimes, guys who are looking to make some money in the gun market will be like, by the way, I also have to add this. You have to be careful about how many guns you sell in a month, because you get to a point where if you're transferring or selling too many guns, you're basically making yourself a dealer. And if the ATF finds out, they will nail you to a wall.
Yes.
So you have to make sure that if you are buying and selling guns, you stay under that limit. All right. Again, we have to make sure we follow the rules for this kind of stuff. We don't want anyone to get in trouble. And certainly we don't want to get in trouble. So we make sure we stay under these rules.
Yeah. And be sure you watch like the Facebook stuff. All right. If you're selling guns, don't advertise it on Facebook. That's a terrible place for it. They report people for that.
So one place I've seen guys make a lot of these kind of specialty items, the Carlos Hathcock, Latrang signed white feather rifle. This is an incredibly narrow market. So like, $3,000 and right now they're selling for $4,000. I'm going to make a ton of money. It's like, no, you're not. Because I see that rifle for sale in the same gun stores, and every time I ask them, you ever sell one of those? They go, no.
Yeah, there's like 7 people that want that gun.
Yeah, so it's like, look, I'm sure it's a badass rifle.
And we make 10 of them, and so
so it's like, be careful about those. Really, unless you know somebody who wants these specialty or collector's items, unless you specifically know somebody who wants them, be very, very careful, because just because you think, again, like John said, just because it's worth something to you doesn't mean it's worth something to everybody. Just like I happily traded that 1911 in that earlier story for that aim point. I knew I could get rid of the aim point.
I have a old Smith & Wesson 357 revolver, right? Not a particularly special edition about it. It's from I think it was made in like the mid 70s. So I mean, there's nothing particularly special about it, but I'd never sell it, regardless of how much money you offer me, because there's personal value to that gun.
Sure.
So you have to watch out for stuff like that, because people get really emotionally attached to things.
Oh, definitely.
And they want you to pay for their emotional attachment.
Yeah. My grandpa's 22 rifle, I would sell it for $5,000.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's some asshole astronomical.
Honestly, I wouldn't even sell it for $5,000. I wouldn't.
Yeah, like I have
maybe
guns,
$100,000. That's worth it.
I have so many guns and gear that like has not a lot of monetary value, but to me, it's like I would never sell something like this. Like some crappy 22 that anyone else would be like, I'll give you $100 for it, but it's like my grandfather's 22 that he killed a bunch of squirrels with or something. Like, I'm not selling that,
Right.
Yeah. So there's that to consider. Be careful about looking at people's, like John said, people's personal value in their guns.
If you ever see anything with the serial number scratched off of it too, that is a no-go.
Don't buy that.
Yeah. So be careful too. Again, be careful about the stuff that you're buying. Like here in Arizona,
cartel guns.
You can actually contact your local law enforcement. Usually a DPS will do it. They'll actually run a gun for you.
Yeah.
And just let you know. You got a cop buddy, call him up. Hey man, can you run a gun for me real quick? Depending on every agency's rules, again, there's going to be rules that are regarding all this kind of stuff.
Call the department.
So call the department.
Preferably before you buy it, because if you buy it and then call them and it turns out it's in a crime, they're taking it away.
Then
they're going to be like, hey, you should come turn this in.
And then
your name and address were.
Yeah, and then you're out
be very careful also, and I'll mention this about things like night vision devices, aim points, ACOG, stuff like that. Watch out for stuff that you're buying as surplus. Because if that stuff has been listed,
if it has an NSN number on it, you can't technically buy it.
That's not true.
That's not true. You can buy stuff with an NSN
if it's
number.
An optic that has an NSN number on it.
Also not true. There's a ton of shit with NSN numbers on it.
You just have to be careful with the source.
Here's the thing. Look up the markings, because military issued equipment has different markings than the civilian sold stuff does. Yes. Aim points have made in Sweden stamped on them. Those are military issued. If it doesn't have the made in Sweden stamped on it, it's not a military issued aim point.
I didn't know that.
So
some of the things.
Be careful about that stuff. Look at the markings on them. Do your research.
And you can always contact the manufacturer.
And that's less on the firearm side, because you're not going to be buying like surplus M4s from the military. But like with the gear, it depends on what you do.
Night vision
optics,
stuff like that.
Plates, for example, body armor. A lot of the body armor that people buy that is surplus. Body armor can't actually be bought surplus unless all the plates are taken off, the data plates. They can't be on it. So if you buy, if someone's like, hey, let me sell you my plates from the military, and they have their data plates and everything still on them, then you probably shouldn't buy it, or have them take the plates off and then buy it from them, because that is a no-go.
Well, you'll end up with, I know several guys who've got busted, and nothing really negative happens to them. I mean, CID checks into it and makes sure that everything's okay. But you're losing your stuff and your money, right? You're not going to get a refund. And so if you're looking at some kind of optic or night vision or something like that, and you're curious about, I don't know, this is coming from a dude who used to be in the military, whatever. I want to make sure it's on the up and up. Then call Trigicon or Aimpoint or whoever and say, hey, can I check the serial number? And they'll tell you whether or not, that item's been listed as destroyed or stolen or whatever, and then
combat loss.
Yeah, combat loss, whatever. And so then you can say, okay, thanks.
Which equals stolen.
Yeah,
which combat loss equals stolen.
Yeah, I know a lot of things that have been combat lost. I don't know anything that's actually been combat lost.
You never get combat found gear, that's for sure. So
combat found.
It's actually not true.
No, you find plenty of stuff. I'm just saying.
No, this
a soldier. No soldier.
Buddy of mine found an M16A1 on a UXO job at camp.
Wow. Oh, really?
Out at Camp Lejeune. Yeah, they were doing some mine clear.
No kidding.
Looking for UXO, and they
some private guy's ass smoked for that.
Oh, dude, and this thing was like
years ago.
Yeah, buried in the mud. And the guys were like, well, what happens if I turn this back in? Is it going to do anything? And they're like, no, that guy's already way out of the military, and he's already paid for it, and so on and so forth. But we have to destroy it.
So watch out for stuff like that.
Truck.
Because if you unknowingly, let's say you unknowingly buy a Trigicon ACOG and you didn't know that it was, stolen, lost, or whatever, procured from the military, and And then maybe something goes wrong with it, and you send it back to Triticon.
They're gonna be like, "Oh, hey,
I want to fix this thing. I want you to fix it. Re-put some more tritium in it, whatever." And they're like, "Oh yeah, by the way, this is military equipment. You're not getting it back."
They're like, "Cool, send me your military ID and address."
Yeah, and then CID has to contact you, and they have to investigate you. And you go, "Oh, I bought it from this guy on the internet, or I bought it from a dude at the gun show, or whatever." So just watch out for that kind of stuff. You don't want to get screwed later down the road.
Yep.
But again, firearms as investments. Just be smart about it. Be careful about it. Without
do some research
and without giving yourself away. Like obviously we always talk about kind of our, low profile gray man type of life without letting everyone in the whole world know. People I know that are in the industry, people I know that are around guns, people I know that might potentially have guns, again, yard sales or whatever, swap meets, stuff like that. Let them know, hey, you got any guns you're looking to sell? Or, anytime I'm at a big shooting event or I run into some dudes who are hunting, I'll mention it to them. I see someone who has a gun that I'd really like to have or something. I mentioned to him, hey, man, you ever want to get rid of that? You let me know. Here's my card.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it doesn't work all the time, but more than once, I've had someone call me up, hey, you still interested in that, that shotgun I had or that rifle I had or whatever? Yeah, here's what I'll give you for it. It works. So sometimes you have to hold on to stuff. Like right now, it's a tricky time. Because we can buy.
I have boxes of magazines.
Yeah,
I'm just waiting.
You can buy tons of magazines and lowers. I know a guy who just bought 75 lowers. So you can go bananas and buy all this stuff, and guess what? Something might not happen.
Right. But
and if the next crazy band comes up,
you're always going to get your money back on some of that stuff.
Now, again,
most of that stuff, you're almost always going to get your money back.
And even
if you didn't buy it high,
even if you don't get your money back, like by selling it, here's the thing from an investment standpoint. You mentioned how much ammo I was shooting at the match. Oh, yeah, I got tons of ammo. I do have a lot of ammo. And the reason I have a lot of ammo is because I've been buying ammo for over a decade.
Yeah.
I mean, I still have British SS 109 that I bought when my first daughter was born almost 10 years ago.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, I bought that stuff at probably less than $200 a K.
Mm-hmm.
Right now that stuff is easily $350, $1,000. So for me as an investment, it's worth shooting that stuff. I paid half of what I'd have to pay to replace it. So sometimes when you think of it as an investment, it's not just, can I flip this? Can I make money off of it? It's, do I have a little bit of extra money now so I can buy this ammo, so I can buy this gun?
My problem is that whenever I find good deals, I'm always short on capital. So.
Well, and sometimes it's good. Like if you've got other investments, I've rediverted money from my normal monthly investments, stocks and Roths and things like that, over to what I call the real precious metals. All right. I've rediverted it over to precious metals, so to speak, right? Guns and ammo.
Yeah, good luck shooting people in the face with gold coins.
Yeah. And
cougar hands ain't cheap.
and I've come out on top. So, watch out for that. Again, I have buddies who contact me, hey man, we just got a smoking big deal on a bunch of surplus ammo. We can give you 5,000 rounds, or we can give you this price if you buy 5,000 rounds or something. So first thing I do is start calling people up. Hey man, I just got 5,000 rounds of 9mm. I bought it for, let's say, $170 a K, and I'll sell it to you for $200 a K, $220 a K, whatever. It's still a good deal. Uh-huh. And I'm going to make a little bit of extra money worth my time. So you just got to let people know that that's what you're in it for. If nobody knows that you're into guns, you're never going to get those cool personal deals.
Yep.
Something to think about. All right. I did put one thing, and I know we're kind of over time here, but there's one quick thing I want to mention. I'll get your opinion, John. Guns that we kind of believe should be in every American's home. So let's switch gears for just a second and say
your well-rounded collection.
Guns as an investment, as in a long-term investment, as in an investment for our children, as in an invent for our self-defense or hunting purposes.
All right, you should have some type of 22, preferably a Ruger 1022. That's like the gold standard of 22 rifles.
Cool.
You should have some type of shotgun, Remington 870, Mossberg 500, pump action, super reliable.
Yep.
Some type of semi-automatic rifle. I mean, AR is kind of the thing for now. Some type of bolt gun, a revolver, and a semi-automatic handgun. Those are, in my opinion, those are the minimums. That's, and if you can afford a couple extra ones, then go for
like
that
some
too.
Fun ones. Sure.
Yeah. A couple of fun guns, or,
I've had guns in the past that like the real, like, am I going to use this? No, but it's cool. Like that Ruger Vaquero that I had. Am I going to carry that every day? No, but it is a cool gun to have.
One of these days, I'm going to lose my mind and I'm going to buy a 500 Smith & Wesson.
Just because. Exactly.
Because I've shot them and they're expensive and they're fun.
Yeah.
And I want to kill an animal with one.
Like a bear.
Yeah.
No, he wants to kill a fox with one.
I want to kill something.
Just to shoot a small critter.
And then I'll probably sell it.
Yeah.
You know?
I killed a fox with this.
With a,
the first time a
tick mark on the pistol grip.
Yeah,
and just sell that thing away.
So John says 22, some type of shotgun, pump action, some type of semi-automatic rifle, bolt action rifle, revolver, semi-automatic handgun. I would say absolutely. In order, this is the order I would prioritize those in. Semi-automatic handgun, semi-automatic rifle, shotgun, 22, bolt action, revolver.
Okay.
So same guns. That's how I would prioritize it.
I didn't put a priority on those. Yeah. That's just the way they popped
in no particular order.
Yeah, in no particular order.
I usually try and break it down by caliber. I mean, it's a little weirder, but so I have like a 223, I have a 9mm, I have a 12 gauge, I just do it by that. But
well, and I would say on all these, like a 22, okay, that's 22. Semi-automatic handgun, I'd go for 9mm. It's a NATO round. A lot of LE agencies carry 9mm.
There's plenty of it out there.
Always going to be available, and you're always going to be able to find it, right? Whether it's find it in the store or 10 rounds in a dead man's rucksack kind of thing.
Yeah, buddy.
In a shotgun, 12 gauge or 20. Again, you can walk into a Walmart, you can buy 12 gauge or 20 gauge in various different types. 16 gauge might be cool. Your 28 gauge might be sweet, but finding that stuff's a pain in the ass. 410s are neato, but they're super expensive, right? 12 or 20. In a semi-automatic rifle, 5.56 or 7.62. Either 7.62 by 3.9 or 7.62 by 5.1. Either the what we refer to as the AK caliber, which is not just the AK caliber, but often it is. And 7.62 by 5.1 or 308 Winchester, right? Something that's, again, a NATO specification, whether 5.56 or 7.62, get a NATO specification guns. It's what cops are going to have. It's what military is going to have. It's going to be easy to find. It's going to be produced. A bolt gun, again, same thing. I would get it in a center fire NATO caliber. 223, 7.62 of some kind, even 30-06, because you can find tons of surplus 30-06 still on the market. And then revolver, go for, a 357 Magnum. That way you can shoot 357 and 38 special.
And you can run it in your super sweet 357 Magnum lever gun.
Yeah.
Because you should also get a lever gun.
I would say a lever gun. That's for me, like I've got a 357 Magnum lever gun. It's one of the cooler guns I have.
But that's like low on the priority list for guns.
That's a fun gun. That's all it is. It's not. It doesn't make my list of 6. And if I was going to make a list of 3, right? Let's make this difficult. If I was going to go 3, I'd say semi-automatic handgun, semi-automatic rifle, shotgun. 22 doesn't make the list, and here's why. I think 22 is great for training. I think 22 is great for small game, blah, 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 survival gun and all that. If zombie apocalypse, Russian paratroopers, whatever happens, you're not going to be hunting small game. I don't care what you think is going to happen. It's not going to happen, okay? You are not going to be out there hunting small game, okay? Right. I went out. I'm a damn good hunter, and I go out and still come back empty-handed, and there's not 1,000 or 5,000 people out there competing with the limited amount of game that's out there. So, yeah, it's cool, but I can hunt small game with any of those other guns I just named. I don't have to have a 22 to hunt small game. I don't have to have a 22 to train.
Word.
It's definitely a 22, but for me, semi-automatic.
And not a 22 Magnum, because we had that discussion. That doesn't go very well.
Yeah. Semi-automatic handgun, semi-automatic rifle, and 5.56 or 7.62, and a 12 gauge or 20 gauge shotgun.
There you go. So I think we should probably wrap this up. We could get down the rabbit hole on this and be here for hours.
We could. I like talking about guns, though, man.
Next time on The Arms Room.
Next time. All right. Remember, you can always bring us out to train with you and get our opinions face to face, which is so much better.
Yeah, buddy.
Plus, you get to see all of this. This is beautiful.
All this.
Face made for radio that I got.
If you want to contact us to host us, info@trainingaz.com. We traveled out, trained with several Arms Room listeners. We'd love to do it some more. It's a blast. We already travel all over the country doing independence training stuff. So, make sure you check us out and give us a thought for hosting. A lot of people contact us about, hey, who should I train with in our area? And we give them a lot of good contacts, in their area.
Well, we're probably available in your area too.
Yeah, but just contact us about hosting. It's pretty simple. And if you host us, you train for free. So it's a huge benefit. And check us out on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Independence Training, Red Wire Gear, and of course, the Arms Room.
Absolutely.
And if you haven't been to the Wilderness Tactical website yet, you need to check it out. It's just thewilderness.com.
Yeah.
Look at those super sweet instructor belts that we all wear.
We just did a cool video of actually towing a truck.
Yeah.
With the wheel. And it was funny because a dude jumped on and on the video that I posted on Instagram was like, well, you could tow a truck with just about anything. It's like, yeah, dumbass. Of course you can.
Well, that's not entirely true.
Well, his thing was he was like monofilament line. And I'm like, of course you could tow it with monofilament line.
A lot of it.
I don't wear monofilament.
But I don't wear monofilament light.
Oh, you guys don't just wear it everywhere you go?
The idea is with something I wear, and like my son has a belt, my wife has a belt, I have a belt.
We're getting on the rabbit hole again.
No,
we got
my point is, like, you could take 2 belts
seconds.
and you could make an actual toe strap.
Sweet.
So check out that video because it's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. I talk in it. So
all right, next week we're going to have Cecil Birch in the show with us.
Yes.
All right.
Talking about failure and why it's necessary for everyone, and the fear of failure and why you need to get that.
Yep.
And how important failure is. And that's going to be following our close contact handgun class. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of cool lessons we're going to have to share, as we always do, following Force on Force stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Until next time, stay aware, stay safe, and train hard. You've been listening to The Arms Room.